Welcome back to the Piping Pastor. Today I thought I'd make good on a promise I made several videos ago, and that is to re-engage the conversation of martial arts. I made that mention several videos ago that I was sadly neglecting that aspect of discussion which I had listed on my channel. And to be quite frank, I was largely not getting back to it because I have a limited amount of time in which I can make these videos. And I thought other topics were of more interest to most people. I didn't see a great deal of crossover between martial arts and pipe smoking and various different things like that until the launch of the Pipe Ninja new channel. New channel, but of course a presenter who's been around for a while, and he made some rather nice comments on some other videos of mine, and he pointed out that I might want to check out his video of the Pipe Ninja mail call, which is a great deal of fun. Obviously, a little bit of production value went into that. He spent some time on that video. And I thought, well, you know what? Hey, not only is there another pipe smoker with an interest in martial arts, it's another pipe smoking presenter in the YTPC who's interested in martial arts. So maybe there's a few more people out there. Now, before I launch into this this wee discussion and tout my expertise as a martial artist, I will say you should always look very cautiously at someone who claims to be a martial arts expert. The way it is meant to work in the martial arts community is if you are a certified instructor, you're an expert in that style. However, we have no real governing body in the United States that dictates standards. So it'd be like earning a PhD at Yale versus earning a PhD from, Bob's Indiana Yale. Someone who just started a school based on some stuff they knew and started handing out PhDs. Right, the degree's not necessarily going to be equal. So unfortunately, you have a lot in the martial arts community, and there is always a great deal of competition and about well, my instructor is real, and who's your instructor, and who do they know, and if you watch my video on being teachable, understand what I think about that. I would not tout myself as a martial arts expert if it weren't for the fact that classification has been given to me. And the reason for that is because my length of study, my breadth of study in the subject, in this arena of, you can call it scholarship. I have been studying and teaching continually for over 30 years. I first began in 1989, and I began in martial arts for all the wrong reasons that a lot of people do, which is I just want to be a really good fighter. That was my only goal. I shouldn't say it's a bad goal, but that was my only goal. I was not looking past my nose. And so I discovered early on that no one style had all the answers. They all touted that they had all the answers. Oh, we've got everything. We've got ground fighting. We've got stand-up fighting. We've got forms and breathing and power generation and all these different things. You don't need to go anywhere else, which again kind of goes back to that whole ego thing that is unfortunately rather present in the martial arts community. But I discovered early on, you know what? They aren't all equal. So I would spend a few years studying one style, and I would dedicate the time and needed to achieve either a black belt or instructor certification, because not every style has a belt system. I can discuss belt systems and where that came from, and Kano Sensei and all the things that he did to standardize the study of martial arts in another video. But suffice it to say, not every style has a belt system. Systema, which is one of the styles that I teach, is an easy example of that. But in order to really grasp the real meaning of any particular style, it's necessary to spend a few years studying at least so that you're good enough to where a master level instructor will say, you're good enough to teach. I feel comfortable with you teaching my students. At that level, you know you've grasped well enough the concepts therein that you can then move on to another style if that's your decision. Now, not many people do that in the martial arts community because a lot of people get obsessed with rank and you don't move up to third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth degree in the organization if you only get your first or second degree black belt and then move on and start studying something else. Right? You need to dedicate time specifically in that style in order to attain that master level rank. But I've never been one that chased rank. I've just been one that chased knowledge. And as a result of that, I've gained a lot of knowledge from a lot of different corners, a lot of different places. Um, you know, 7 styles from 5 countries, and as a result, I have a pretty wide breadth of knowledge. Now, in sharing that with you here, as I mentioned in another video, it's not my intent to demonstrate the best way to do a Kimura, right? Or the proper way to execute a particular technique or a kata or a different type of form or striking method or anything else like that. This is not an instructional video. Simply, this is just something to open the discussion about martial arts in general. And from my view, what the benefits of studying martial arts is. And technique is first, of course, the first part of it, right? And you'll have many people who will look at fighters in the UFC and particularly people who study Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and boxing as a combination and say, okay, that's the apex. When it comes right down to it, if you're going to get in a street fight, this is what you need. This is the nuts and bolts of it. This is how you get it done. And I'm not going to disagree with that. I think Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is a wonderful style. My Jiu-Jitsu comes from the Kodokan in Japan, so it is different, but Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu comes out of Japanese Jiu-Jitsu. It's where it all started. And again, that'll be a history discussion perhaps for another video. But the point of this video is what I wanted to say is that yes, martial arts at its core, in whatever country it comes from, because indigenous people groups all over the world have various different forms of martial art. It's not as if, the Chinese and Japanese figured out how to fight hand to hand and everyone else was born with a sword and didn't figure out how to punch and kick until they encountered Eastern cultures. That's not what happened, right? There are indigenous forms of hand-to-hand combat, unarmed hand-to-hand combat all over the world. And each one has its own different way of viewing things. So, but these all began in the very simple realm of we're going to war, I'm going to fight, I need to know how to kill or defend myself in this combat. So what's the best way to do that? And when people look at things like UFC and these various different forms of hand-to-hand combat, and they're like, well, that's in the purest form. That's the stuff that really works. That's what it really is. And they look at things like, like Wing Chun and some of the more beautiful Southern Chinese styles of the forms that they execute and things like, oh, that's not real. That stuff doesn't work. Tai Chi, what's the point of that? You're going to punch somebody like this? No, an overhand right hurts more than a ridge hand, and they're correct in that. But there's something more there if one chooses to really study it. If I ask you to paint a mountain, which way is more quick and efficient? To spend time studying art and perspective and get a palette of a bunch of different colors together and really work on a beautiful landscape with a mountain in the center, or just dip your finger in some black paint and do a big triangle? Obviously, the second one is faster and more efficient, and it accomplishes the task. You have painted a mountain. But which one did you get more out of? Which one are other people going to get more out of? There is a depth of philosophy. There is a depth of understanding. There is a depth of beauty in martial arts at the higher levels if you dedicate the time and energy to study it. If you just stop here because this is where you can beat people up, then sure, you'll be able to beat people up. You study hard, you practice, you work out, you spar, so on and so forth. Yep, you're going to be very good at that. Why would you stop there when you can move over here, right? And the further along you go, the further you get away from the direct combat, maybe, but you also get deeper into the study of what it is. When humans first started cooking food, it wasn't necessarily haute cuisine, right? But the point was just to grind up the meal or butcher the animal and get the food into your body because you needed to survive. As humans evolved and progressed and began to learn and grow, it went beyond that, right? How many of you today would just go out into a field and grab some millet and just grind it up and make a cake on a hot stone, right? It's the fastest, most efficient, most easy way to get food, right? Just to go out and eat it off a tree or something else like that. But no, you're going to pick the nicest fruit, you're going to find the nicest cuts of meat, and you're going to cook it yourself. If you go out to eat at a restaurant, you enjoy haute cuisine because of the experience, right? The impetus may be the same, it's just to get nutrition into your body, but the artistic expression of the chef is enjoyable for you, and it's an enjoyable artistic expression for the one doing it for you. And martial arts is the same. At the core of it, sure, yes. It's me against you or me against whomever in some kind of physical combat. But we shouldn't just stop there. There's a depth of learning in anything. Kung Fu isn't just a style of martial art. It's not a style of martial art. That term just means mastery of something, right? If you're an expert painter or you're an expert musician, then that's your Kung Fu, right? That's what you spend your life pursuing excellence in. So don't just stop at the level of functionality. When we think of martial arts, think about it like anything else, any other kind of artistic expression. Don't just stop at the first step, but look a little bit further. Well, that is it for this one. We'll come back and we'll do some more martial arts discussions, and we can talk about some of the more particular things, about some of the styles that I've studied and that I'm certified to teach and so forth, and perhaps some histories and where some of these traditions come from that we kind of take for granted. I may even get into a discussion of the sai, since that seems to be the pipe ninja's favorite weapon. And I think that bamboo pipe that the ninja uses is beautiful. We'll also get into a bit of discussion of bartitsu, because obviously the way I dress, it fits, and I think it fits with the pipe smoking community really rather well. But until then, I'm going to turn my attention back to this plum pudding, or plum pudding reserve, and I hope you have a lovely week. As always, happy reading.